Over 2 million lives were lost and many families torn apart during the 2 decades of civil war for South Sudan to become what it is today. On July 9, 2011, the citizens of this nation achieved independence and praised their leaders for the promise of peace, liberty, justice, and prosperity for all. But with the political turmoil which erupted on December 2013, will that promise still hold? My guest today is Makuei. Makuei, welcome to the agenda.
Thank you.
It is 3 years since South Sudan gained independence, and your government promised almost everything to the citizens of this nation. Is there anything that you may be able to confidently say that your government have achieved, or was it a lip talk?
Well, thank you very much, Garang, and thanks to the people of South Sudan TV, and the people of South Sudan. Definitely, when the government of the Republic of South Sudan, in the Independence Day, made promises, then it actually meant those promises. And most of them were achieved. Not that only, but of course, with those promises, we can say Rome was not built in one day. The fact that the government promised that we will do A, B, C, D up to Z does not mean that from A up to Z will be achieved in one day. We had started the implementation of the programs that we have, for which the government of South Sudan has promised people to deliver. And before we could finalize anything, we were interrupted by this unfortunate situation, and all that was done was destroyed. And as a result, we could not proceed to implement most of these projects. Some of these projects which were implemented in Upper Nile and Jonglei and Unity State were definitely destroyed. Most of the projects which were under implementation in the other 7 states could not be finished because the funds were not available, but we had to divert funds for other sources in order to divert funds for security, so that we protect the people of South Sudan. So, nevertheless, we have done achievements in so many ways. We have done some constructions on the roads. We have built some schools. We have availed water for the needy in terms of bore wells. We have improved in health services, and this is very clear in the Ministry of Health. Every now and then there is an inauguration of a new place in the Ministry of Health. In terms of education, we have done a lot. So in terms of social services, the government of the Republic of South Sudan tried its level best. Had it not been interrupted, would have gone far now and would have been in a position to tell the people that this is what we have achieved for you.
Well, Minister, before you could put the blame on the rebellion that came in, you had some years back before the political turmoil erupted. Look at employment industry, where citizens are supposed to be given jobs in their own nation. Investors are coming in with their own employees.
Well, that is not the issue. You see, the first and the most important thing for you to get to create employment is to open up your opportunities for the investors to come in. Now, after the coming in of the investors, an investor is a person who has his own program, and his intention is not to come and develop the South, but to come and make money. So an investor who comes into South Sudan with the idea of making money would ultimately try to look for a ready labor, a labor with experience, a labor that is capable of delivering immediately so that he can make his first money. This is one of our major problems. Here in South Sudan, we have specialized labor, which we don't have, and most of the investors do come in in search of ready-made money. And for them to make ready-made money, they need to bring in trained labor that will not cost them anything. They need to bring in people with capabilities. But the most important thing, it is true that the government should have gone the other way around and make it a condition for all these investors, those who bring in foreign labor, to start training and investing in the local labor, so that with time these people are made to take over from these foreign workers.
You say the government should have gone the other way. You are part of that government anyway. And here's a situation: the university is producing candidates who should actually take over the responsibility. You are part of that government. What are you doing?
Yes, I'm part of that government, but what type of jobs are these which are usually availed by the investors to the people of South Sudan? Our people, our youngsters, our young people, when they graduate or whenever they study at any level, they want white-collar jobs. There is a lot of labor in the market. But our people do not want to work there because that is a difficult job. That is a difficult job. And a foreigner is ready to come and work 12 hours. He is ready to come and work for 10 to 12 hours a day. And he continues to perform his functions and duties. For our people, that is difficult. For our youngsters, no, they want a white-collar job. They want to start somewhere at a certain level, which is not available. So here comes in a situation whereby we should understand that when a government opens institutions of learning, it does not necessarily mean that anybody who graduates from there must be employed by the government. And in order to open up these work opportunities, we held our conference last time here. And this conference, before the investors could come, before the investors could even go back home, we were interrupted and we had this disaster. By this time, had it not been this interruption, we would have actually provided a labor market. And there would have been, at least for a time being now, there would have been no problem of unemployment. But of course that did not happen. All the investors did not come, and as such, we are not to blame the past, but from now onwards, what do we think that we can do in order to create that market?
Minister, remember during the Civil War, the heads of the revolutionary used to promise the people of South Sudan that we are fighting for freedom, and once we get that freedom, we will enjoy it. Now we are talking of people not having the capability. You have been saying in many events that we are beginning from scratch. So the citizen thinks that they right also to begin from scratch with the little they have and move forward as part of prosperity that was promised. Are we not contradicting ourselves?
No, we are not contradicting ourselves, but we have been working within our promise. You see, our people, of course, had, after the agreement and with that promise in mind, people had a lot of expectations. People expected Rome to be built in one day. And as such, when the agreement was signed and people came in, people thought that in so doing, then ultimately everybody will just relax. That is not the case. It means that the government should create the necessary conducive atmosphere for the people of South Sudan to prosper, but not to provide labor and provide work and or maybe pay everybody in his house. That was not the intention. The intention is to render services to the people. And these services, we cannot say that we have not rendered anything. The problem is that the expectations of the people of South Sudan had been that high, and we could not meet them. Ultimately, we could not meet them all. But we have, this meeting of these expectations is a process that we cannot expect to finish within a day and night.
Well, there was this policy of taking towns to the people. And when you look at South Sudan, almost 3 years now, the cities like Juba are the one where people can say, yes, there's development. But in the rural home, there's still nothing tangible, even in the areas that are not affected by the conflict. How soon will it take, how long will it take for the people in the rural home to enjoy the same rights like what is in the city? you want them to come to the city and stay all here?
Well, of course, up to now, our policy holds that we are taking towns to the people. And taking towns to the people doesn't mean that you carry you take the towns on your head, you carry them, put them down there in the town. It is through the delivery of services that you can encourage people and make people to stay there. And these services, you cannot take them all at a go to all parts of South Sudan. South Sudan is a big chunk of land, and it is densely populated in terms of population. We have over 8 million people. How many villages can we develop within a day so that all the services reach all the people at a go? Definitely, we have to start somewhere. And when you start from the center and begin to go develop gradually, moving towards the end. So we have started from the center. We are moving outwards, and in so doing, definitely there are some areas which have not yet been reached, and those who have not been reached will definitely come to the towns in search of these services which have not yet reached them. So it is a process, and our people should not just begin to move to the towns because the government is still holding to its promise that it will take services to the people and take towns to the people, not people coming to the towns.
You mentioned before that, yes, indeed, the promise for prosperity is something that will be achieved but will take time. People of South Sudan will still hold on you on behalf of the government here. Will it really still work out? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, definitely there is light at the end of the tunnel. All that we are working for is to ensure that peace comes back to South Sudan. And it is after bringing peace to South Sudan that we will definitely deliver our promise.
Of a standard, and it has forced some ministers, even government officials, to send their children outside the country to study. Is that a way to achieve anything tangible?
We are at present in the process, and the establishment of a real educational system has already started. The curriculum is out, and even this is the first time for us to have our, last year actually, to have our South Sudan school certificate set for. Our universities had been in disorder. I believe that we have started correctly, and by the way, education is not it's a process. You don't just start it in one day. If you want to change a system, like now we have adopted, and our constitution says English shall be the official working language. It means that we need to adopt it from all the schools.
On July 9th, 2011, during the independence celebration, the government promised never to see the citizens of this land crossing to foreign nations to become refugees or staying in IDP camps. They are now crossing. How committed are our politicians to their promise?
Well, well, of course, the government promised that all the South Sudanese should return to South Sudan, not the other way around. We promised that we will create all the necessary conducive atmosphere so that the people of South Sudan come and join their people in development. Unfortunately, after independence and last December actually, a tragic incident happened when an attempted coup took place, and as a result, and because of the failure of that coup, it resulted into a rebellion, and it is this rebellion which actually caused us a lot of disaster. Of course, the government had no way of stopping it other than to fight it out, and the government had been fighting it, but nevertheless, fighting it was thought not to be a solution, and as such we decided to go in for negotiations so that we stop all these killings and disaster and displacement and stop our people from going to the refugees camps and becoming refugees instead of coming back as returnees.
Now, that's one promise broken, Mr. Minister, and be it you, the government, or the rebel group, are you not losing your credibility in the eye of the people of South Sudan by promising something and a tragedy happened the other way?
Yes, you can lose credibility when it is you who is violating it.
Well, now
the people of South Sudan are also human beings and they are capable of judging. So there is no way somebody would rebel and attempt to take over a democratically a government elected by the people. Now you come up and say, I want to take it over by force. Meanwhile, this body, this president, this government was elected by the people of South Sudan. Definitely the people of South Sudan will not just take a decision which is not substantiated. They know very well that the problem is not with their government, but the problem with this is with these people who are power hungry, who want to take over power by force, instead of waiting for the people of South Sudan to vote them in as they did before. So the people of South Sudan, I think, are fair, and they will continue to be fair, and they know where the problem lies, and as such, they will not hold the government responsible for all that happened.
Minister, up to this moment, there are some people who say it was not a coup. What do you have to say about that?
Well, this, of course, that is a normal thing. There is no criminal, even if you arrest a thief today. And even if you catch him red-handed and you ask him, what have you done? They say that I have stolen. He will never admit that I'm a thief. So this is a normal thing in any situation. Those who say that it was not a coup are the very people who planned the coup. But after, when it has failed, when it became an abortive coup, definitely they will have to look for other excuses. But it was a coup, unless we have a new definition for a coup. A coup is nothing but only an attempt to overthrow a democratically elected government by use of force. Full stop. And this is what happened.
They accuse the government of being dictatorial. What do you have to say?
Well, the government being a dictatorial is a question of fact. And it depends from which position are you judging. If you have decided to be a fair person who would judge correctly, you would not say that it is a dictatorial government. But if you are a biased person who is deciding from a certain point of view or from a certain position, definitely you have every right to decide otherwise. For me, this is the most democratic government.
Is there any practical example you may give to prove that it's a democratic
government? Yes,
it
is a democratic government in terms, let us bring it to our field. In terms of journalism, in terms of the media, at present, the media, what the media says, what is reported in the newspapers, what is done, we don't object, we don't touch anybody, everybody allowed to talk freely.
Well, we'll come to that point of freedom of expression and liberty later. Okay. In the quest for peace, the government and the rebel group recently talk of a possibility of forming a transitional government. That's so? Well, people of South Sudan are wondering, we have a transitional constitution where leaders are elected. So people are asking, how will legitimate body that was elected share power with a legitimate body?
Well, of course, these are arrangements that the government, the elected government of the people of South Sudan, decided to introduce this in search of peace. Otherwise, in the general circumstances, and if they were not to rebel and take up arms, then the best option would have been to go for elections. You are either elected or rejected by the people of South Sudan. But this did not happen. Riek Machar decided to take up arms and wanted to take over power by force. The government, in search of peace, must give, because the government is actually in charge of all the South Sudanese, including the rebels.
So you are sacrificing?
Yeah, definitely peace must have a value. And as such, we in the government decided that if that is their problem, because after all, up to now, the rebels have not come up to tell us what was the root cause of their rebellion. The issues they are talking about are issues of governance which are well known to everybody, which were not, we were even well known to them when they were in power, when they were ministers and vice presidents. So there is nothing new. All that we have come to know is that these people want to share power. And if they want to share power, then we bring them back, they share power, and after sharing power, we'll go back to the very people to go and decide who would rule them. They have come up with issues of reform in the executive, in the legislature, in the judiciary. They have come up with issues of reforms in the security sector and in the civil service and so forth. All these are issues which were well known to the government of South Sudan, and the government had been working hard to ensure that all these people participate. All the stakeholders are brought under one roof, and they all sit down to deliberate and come up with the best way forward for governing South Sudan. All these things had been in the pipeline. But the rebels decided, after being relieved like others, they decided to make their attempted coup, and after the failure of the coup, they decided to make it a rebellion in search of power. So we are bringing them back so that we stop this killing, harassment, and displacement of our people. Those people who are victimized are victims of no reason, because the war we are fighting is a senseless war which is not based on anything other than power struggle.
Well, are you not worried, as you welcome back this rebel group, are you not worried that some of you and your colleague may lose your position because South Sudan may not have the resources to have a cabinet of 200 ministers?
Well, ultimately, this is the value. If you are a negotiator, you don't negotiate yourself in. You don't negotiate so that you continue to be there, but we are actually negotiating peace. What we are looking for is peace, not positions. And some of us are ready to give room to our colleagues who would come in and continue to operationalize the agreement. So there is no question of us negotiating because we want to continue there. We were not born to be there. That is one. When we negotiated the CPA, we did not negotiate it so that we come and sit and continue to rule. We negotiated so that we prepare the people of South Sudan for independence, and they got it. And after independence, it is up to the people of South Sudan to continue to decide who would continue to rule them. It's not us who should all the time, it is not us who should impose ourselves on them, but we give them the opportunity to decide as to who would rule them. This is the point which has been missed by the rebels.
Minister, the issue of federalism is gaining ground. People are talking about it. It is causing panic among our people. What is your government saying about that?
Well, federalism is not actually gaining ground, but it had been there. So maybe to some others they are taking it as a new issue, but it had ever been there.
So you have been rallying for it silently?
The issue of federalism came up with our transitional constitution. The issue of federalism should not be discussed here, should not be embodied in this transitional constitution, but let us defer it to the permanent constitution, where it will be given ample time, it will be studied, and it will be ample time for everybody to participate so that people continue to brainstorm and see and agree on the best federal system we want. This was agreed. Now it is Riek Machar, and Riek Machar was a part and parcel of this process. He was the vice president of the republic. Nobody ever objected against federalism. Now Riek Machar, simply because he believes that because he wants to win the confidence of the few, who have not been following and whom he misled to believe that the government is against federalism, he decided to take it up as if he rebelled for the sake of federalism.
Are you trying to accuse some of the leaders within your government of having a link with Dr. Riek? Because this issue is being raised also by some leaders who are in the system now.
I'm not saying that we are against the issue of federalism. I'm not even accusing anybody for giving his opinion or her opinion on issues of federalism. Because federalism is not a new issue. It is already in the air. And if you go to the NCRC today, to the Constitutional Review Commission, it is one of the issues which is under consideration. All that we are saying is that issues of federalism should not be discussed outside the NCRC. The question now is not that federalism is not wanted, but the question is what type of federalism do we want? I'm sure today if you ask even those who call for federalism, they believe that it is something which is not defined. You need to go down and study it, see what are the pros and cons of the different types of federalism. Based on that, you will be in a position to come up with a clearly defined type of federalism you want. In Ethiopia, say, for example, they have ethnic federalism. If we go in for ethnic federalism here in South Sudan, will it fit us or not?
You are the Minister of Information in South Sudan. After the conflict broke out, what can you say about the role that media played? Did the media in this country help try to bring...
the media in this country, after the conflict, in my opinion, did not deliver the way we expected it. And I expect the media to come up to be fair. In the first place, the media must be a responsible media. It must be seen to be fair. It must be accountable. This is the media we are talking about.
But Minister, they're operating using their mindset, their own concept. There's no media law governing them. Are you not trying... Are you not contributing in the...
No, we are not contributing because, in fact, and this is one of the issues that we need to clarify to our people. There is no legal vacuum.
Well, freedom of expression is the cornerstone of South Sudan.
Yes, but the Constitution, Article 24 says you exercise it according to the law.
Minister,
which means that you should not step on the toes of others in the name of journalism.
Minister, a scenario happened where a journalist was killed, and the nation is waiting to see whether justice will prevail. Nobody has been held accountable, and the issue went silent. What do you have to tell the public?
It has not gone silent. It is still under investigation. And for your information, there are certain cases that can take years and years under investigation, depending on the availability of the necessary evidence at the right time. If you have not yet got the required evidence, you will continue to dig until you get that evidence. So we should not hurry and expect everything to be done at a go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope to see you again on the agenda.
Okay.